It's a program of Jewish information, inspiration, motivation, and transformation here on the Gavriel Sanders Show.
Welcome again to you. I am Gavriel, your host for the next 28 minutes here on the Talkline Network. We think of this program as a sort of audio magazine featuring people, organizations, and opportunities for making a difference. And in today's lineup, Rabbi Pinchas Taylor of the American Faith Coalition spotlights a curious aspect about how Jews tend to sway as they pray. So what's the backdrop on this? You'll find out. And then at our recent event last month at the Israel Embassy to launch a new campus resilience initiative, I spoke with trauma experts Gina and Rabbi Landa, creators of a unique course for students. You'll want to hear about that. But as we commonly do, let's first focus on the coming week's Torah portion with Rabbi Yitzchak Meir Goodman of Rockaway. Rabbi Goodman.
Thank you, Gavriel. Shalom, listeners across the planet. We are now at the Sidra of Va'etchanan, and we're up to Shabbos Nachamu. Nachamu, Nachamu Ami. Hashem is giving us consolation. It's a very, very interesting Haftorah that we read from the Navi. It's just as interesting as the Sidra itself. And I'd like to speak a little bit about the Haftorah this time, because there is a message here. And maybe it's a message of consolation for our time too. Hashem says to the Navi, speak, I'll leave Yerushalayim. And the Navi says, Moekra. Everything is dried out. Everything is not. There's nothing here to talk to. It's like we've been wiped out or something. We're in the last gasps. And then the tone changes, and Hashem says, Al har gavoa alilach mevaseres Tzion. Climb up on a high mountain and tell the news of Tzion. Harimi bakoach kolech, and lift up your voice as loud as you can. Mevaseret Yerushalayim. Many times in the Torah, you find Tzion and Yerushalayim together, in the Naviim especially. It's like a synonym. But yes, nevertheless, Tzion is Tzion, and Yerushalayim is Yerushalayim. Tzion represents the Eretz Yisrael, and Yerushalayim represents the city. There's another difference. Tzion is a nationalistic idea. Yerushalayim is a holy, holy city. And I once heard years ago, I can't even remember from where, that the message of this pasuk is saying that when the Nechama begins, and we see it taking place before our eyes, it's going to be in two stages. First, there will be Mevaseret Tzion, and then will come Mevaseret Yerushalayim. The first thing will happen is that Jews will come back to Eretz Yisrael. It'll be Tzion, it'll be Eretz Yisrael, Medinas Yisrael, call it whatever you want. We'll have a national government, we'll have an army, we'll have a Knesset. And once that takes place, lift up your voice louder and louder and turn the tide and get all Jews in Eretz Yisrael to understand, why did we come back? Why did God keep us going for 2,000 years and bring us back to our land? It's Mevatzeret Yerushalayim. It's to give us the news of the holy city of Yerushalayim. It's to tell us, get ready for Mashiach. Prepare the way for him. Earn the right that he should come. Pray for him. Daven. Learn Torah. We'll go from Tzion to Yerushalayim. At the present time, Eretz Yisrael is a Tzion. It's a state. Is it a Jewish state? To a large extent. Not totally. You have so many secular people running the government, you sometimes wonder where they would like to take us to, where they're heading to. But we have to remember, our goal is Mevaseret Yerushalayim. Thank God the religious community in Eretz Yisrael has large families. The very, very secular left are very happy to have one, maybe two children. Eventually we're going to outnumber them. But if we daven really hard and pray to God, we don't have to wait for eventualities. We can have it happen much sooner. We have to turn Tzion into Yerushalayim. We have to turn a secular government into a holy government. And whatever we can do to support that, send our children, move there, support yeshivas there, support all the organizations that are bringing back people to tshuva, the sooner we will have the total geula of Maseret Yerushalayim, so that we can say finally, Imri la'oda Yehuda, as that pasuk continues, Hine Elokeichem, here is your God. We must work to look forward to that great, great day. We will have the Yeshua, Im Yis Hashem, B'Yameinu. Shabbat Shalom.
From the heart of the world, coming to you from Yerushalayim, you're tuned to the Gavriel Sanders Show.
So if you've been to the Kotel, and many of you have, or attended an Orthodox prayer service, and many of you do, you've seen the phenomenon of swaying, particularly from the men's side, as they pray. Where did this come from? Well, for the answer, here's Rabbi Pinchas Taylor of the American Faith Coalition to enlighten us. Rabbi Taylor.
Today I just wanted to speak for a few minutes about the custom of shuckling. It's something that we don't even think about many times. In fact, many people, many Jews in more religious circles, they sometimes have to stop themselves from shuckling or swaying when they're praying or learning Torah. You find yourself just standing and all of a sudden you're in that mode of just, and you have to control yourself of not swaying or stopping to sway. The origin of where shuckling, swaying, either during prayer, learning, came from is not 100% clear, but there are some theories. The Machzor Vitri and the Ramah say that it symbolizes the trembling that the Jews felt at Mount Sinai. The Zohar says that it compares the soul is like a flame that's always striving higher, and so too the Jew sort of flickers during prayer to reach upward. In Psalm 35, the Tehillim, it says, "Let my bones proclaim God who is like you," meaning all my bones, my entire body. King David says, my whole body should be invested in proclaiming God's glory. I heard recently in the name of Rabbi Shimon Schwab that in serving God, there are two elements. There's love of God and fear of God. And when you love God, when you love anything, you're drawn in, you're drawn near, and when you fear, you're drawn back. So the whole backwards and forward motion, either during prayer or during learning time, is to emphasize this idea that the whole thing is being done through love and through fear. In the Kuzari, it says that this shuckling, this swaying, was more of a practical thing, that it kept the Jews warm and engaged in Torah study when there was a shortage of books and in the cold. The idea of shuckling, of being enthusiastic, of dedicating your whole body towards what you're doing, is also reminiscent of the idea that when you're drowning in the sea of life, one makes all sorts of motions to stay afloat. That in prayer, which you're doing in a very fervent way, thinking about all the details of your life that you're directing in your prayer, you're almost like a drowning person. You're moving your body in order to just stay afloat through the tough times. There's many sources that are brought in the Piskei Teshuvos that swaying adds in concentration, and it also rids us of improper thoughts. It's something that is really unique to Judaism. Some point to even a Talmudic origin, a very ancient origin. They point to a Gemara in Eruvin, the Talmud over there, which would make it a very, very old custom. Even Muhammad, the founder of Islam, so we're talking 7th century, he said he encouraged his followers not to sway like the Jews. So we know that certainly the custom was around from that time. In Sefer HaManik, it says that it's required to sway. One is required to sway because it shows a basic Jewish involvement, that you're a Jew, and part of being Jewish and part of praying as a Jew is praying like that. It's like a indicator of Jewish tradition. Others disagree, and they say that maybe one shouldn't shuckle, one shouldn't sway when they pray, because that's not how you would stand in front of a king. And when we pray, we have to envision ourselves that we're standing in front of the King of Kings. Some other Jewish authorities, other legal authorities say that make some sort of like compromise, and they sway during many parts of prayer, but during the Amidah, the Shemona Esrei, they stand perfectly still. And that is actually something that we saw by Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, also the Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe. When you're seeing videos of them praying, you see like a servant standing in front of their master, a perfectly still, silent prayer. Practically speaking, one should do whatever is common custom in their community or what their particular family custom is, or whatever really would help them concentrate best. After all, the idea is to concentrate better and thereby serve God better. That's really what we want to do.
Here on the Talkline Network, you are listening to Gavriel, the Gavriel Sanders Show.
So I want to talk to Jewish college students for a minute, or their parents. You've seen what's happening on campus: anti-Semitism, misinformation, and people who think they know something about Israel because they saw a meme. Well, here's the move. Go live it. Spend a semester in Israel, not just talking about it, but actually living in Israel. Experience the vibe of Jerusalem's old city. Share the empowerment of being part of a Jewish majority, maybe for the first time. As the Masa organization says, 4 to 5 months in Israel will forever enrich your Jewish life and identity. And here's the bonus. From Israel, weekend trips to Prague, Paris, London, Dubai, even Greece are faster and cheaper than traveling from the U.S. Plus, your academic calendar runs on the Jewish calendar. No classes, no tests, no conflicts on Jewish holidays. You'll come home not just inspired, but equipped, ready to answer ignorance with insight, because you've lived the story. It's your Jewish future, so learn it, live it, and lead it from Israel. I'd like you to visit jewishyearabroad.org and turn experience into conviction. That's jewishyearabroad.org. For several weeks, I've been talking about our June 15th Israel Embassy launch of a one-of-a-kind course for Jewish college students and their Christian Zionist allies, designed to foster greater resilience as they navigate adversity on campus. At that embassy meeting, I engaged course developers Gina Ross of Los Angeles and Rabbi Avi Landa of Baltimore in an in-depth look into what the course actually contains. So let's dive into that conversation. Gina, let's start with you. When most people think of trauma, they think of something traumatic, right? There's the noun, there's the adjective. They think of something, we talk about traumatic brain injury, we talk about blunt force trauma, but it's much deeper than that, isn't it?
It's not only deeper, it's wider, I would say, that we have actually small events, small trauma that seems innocuous, and big traumas. So it really has to do, what makes something traumatic is if it overwhelms the nervous system of the person and make them unable to cope. So I would say maybe like a brief description of what trauma is as a definition. So whenever there's a threat that happens, the nervous system reacts and produces the stress hormones to allow us to defend ourselves. If we cannot, which is what's happening in campus, those kids are not able to defend themselves, they're not able to flee, they're not able to fight, then that energy stays stuck in the system and turns into what we call symptoms, traumatic symptoms. And that can be of all types. So the nervous system is affected even more than the mind, and we call it also the autonomic nervous system, which then all kind of different functions start being affected. And that's really what we want to be able to work with.
So, Avi, if Gina is right, and a lot of students are carrying this unrecognized stress into the classroom on campus, what was in your mind in creating the Resilience on Campus curriculum to address what's going to fix here?
Okay, thank you, Gavriel. Thank you, Gina. It's a tremendous privilege to be here with everyone. And honestly, I just want to start right before I answer the question with something Shabbos said, which is that every single person sitting here is clearly expressing themselves as in the fight and on our team. It's tremendously appreciated, and it's courageous of every single one of you. And I would like to start by, I think we should all give everyone here a round of applause for being here. Thank you so much. Okay, so we developed this curriculum based on social emotional learning and mental health practices, a lot of the trauma work that Gina is involved in, because, like you said, a lot of it is unseen. We have these kids on campus, and it's not just Jewish kids. It's kids from all walks of life who see the anti-Semitism that's occurring on campus. They see the double standards that we're going to hear more about soon. They see the injustices, and it bothers them, but they don't know where to go with it. And the Rock curriculum provides them, all of them, a place to be able to gather in a group, to be able to discuss, to be able to feel like, once again, like we feel in this room, that they're a part of a team, that they have this family within the campus, and it gives them that support. For this particular question, I'll just share a quick little story. In my private practice in mental health counseling, I had a young man come into my office, and he was expressing to me different areas in which he felt isolation, one of which was him being on college campus. And at one point, I asked him, "Are you okay?" And his response was nothing, just silence. He started to think deeply. And so as therapists, we are trained to sit with silence, to tolerate silence and use it as a tool, actually. And so I sat there with him. And even just those 3 seconds of silence can start to feel a little bit uncomfortable. Imagine if it's 20, 30 seconds. And after a little bit of a pause, he said, no, I'm not okay. And I've been waiting for months for someone to ask me that question. The Rock curriculum allows people from all walks of life, students, to come into a room, to feel like this is a place that's safe for them to vent, but also to be understood, and to develop the tools to develop that inner resiliency that is so crucial to be able to handle, because once they feel like they got it, it doesn't matter if someone says something to them in passing, then they can tap into all the pro-Semitism and all the understandings and the knowledge and the education, but they have to be a human being first to be able to tap into all of that. So that's what we're trying to accomplish on a global level with the Rock curriculum.
Gina, if someone visits your website, and I do encourage everyone to do that, you've created something that I guess is patented, it's certainly trademarked to you, called Emotion Aid. And in that, you're providing very specific tools, and I'm going to say something and let me know if I'm overstating it. I don't think I'm understating it. You've actually come up with approaches in dealing with trauma that can help people overcome it very quickly. I mean, we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4 sessions, right? We're not talking about 1, 2, 3 years of on-the-couch therapy, right? So could you give an example of a couple of those approaches that somebody might find in Emotion Aid?
Okay. So let me complete the information that you're giving. I teach somatic experiencing, which was created by somebody called Dr. Peter Levine, and I introduced it 25 years ago into Israel. It's a very cutting-edge technique to heal trauma, and I've been teaching it for 25 years in Israel, okay? I go there 4 times a year, and I have thousands of students. Now, out of that, I took something called Emotion Aid, and Emotion Aid allows lay people, you don't need to go into therapy, to deal with what's happening in daily life or also emergency situations where you actually can calm your nervous system on the spot, anytime, anywhere, without needing pen or paper or a computer or a telephone or even a quiet place to be. So that was very unusual. And I'm going to tell you a couple of stories, but during the first Iran war now, like last year, and then during this war now, several organizations asked me, I have a 15-minute video that teaches how to do that. They asked me to present it, and I did webinars, and 500 people showed up for every single one of the webinars. And the idea of really is to disseminate this to all of the children on campus, all of the young people, but also to the Jewish community all over the world, diaspora and Israel, so that we maintain what we need to have right now. We're going through a very historical moment, one of those peaks of badness, but with a lot of opportunities for goodness, though, which is a whole different thing. And I want to tell you a story. I met a young Israeli soldier 6 years ago in New York, and I spent an hour with him trying to remember if it was a session or I showed him something. Anyway, 2 weeks after October 7th, he calls me to LA, super excited. I have to talk to you. What's going on? He was fighting Hamas in Kibbutz Be'eri for 2 weeks. He saw all the atrocities that he saw, all the horrible things that he saw. Him and his unit were ala retzpa. They were really upset. They started becoming traumatized and not being able to continue fighting. He says, guess what I did? I stopped in an empty house. I remembered what you taught me. I used it. I taught it to my unit. we cleaned ourselves up from what was going on, and we were able to continue fighting. So that was extraordinary. And this is something I've been fighting for a long time, to have every single soldier in Israel know emotion aid before they go into battle. They can help themselves, they don't have to be traumatized, and they can help each other whenever they lose it. So this was very extraordinary, and we have a model that takes this emotion aid into the whole community at the collective level. Because right now, Israel and the Jewish people all over the world, there's really a collective trauma that's going on. But here's the difference. We can do something about it right now. And you wanted the example, right? Can I show you something? Okay, ala makom, like just a moment. Hold this, put it for me. So there's something called the butterfly hug. All of you do it with me. And all you have to do is this. Something is upsetting, your kid is upset, your kid is really bothered. You just have we call it the butterfly hug, tap alternatively on the legs. Believe it or not, it's something that takes you from a level 10 to a level 2 on the spot. Okay? Now, if you're very traumatized and there's a long history of trauma, emotion aid won't cut it. You have to go and do SE, and that is extraordinary because that's where it can cut a therapy of 5 years into a therapy of 6 months. And it's quite miraculous. And I love teaching him and teaching it. And Israel, everybody knows now about SE, and basically we're hoping that every single therapist will know how to do it there.
And Gina has trained a number of people, scores of people around the country, and that pool of talent we plan to tap to bring into the Rock experience as we are invited to or get into work with various organizations on campuses to give them this experience, because it's an experience, not just a theory. So Avi, just to kind of wrap this segment up, because there's more to do, would you kind of give just a quick overview of what's under the rock?
Sure. Okay, we designed the curriculum to be an 8-module curriculum, so it can be 8 different group sessions that the groups have together with a trained facilitator. And the first module focuses on we go from the bottom up, so we want first to focus on self-awareness and emotional regulation. We teach all different types of skills, what we might call a whole smorgasbord of emotional regulation techniques, going through them experientially in the group so that everyone can get a taste for what works for them, what doesn't work as well for them, and they can have various different tools that they can draw from so that, once again, they can hopefully not get traumatized in the first place. When some of these things happen, they can tap into that resilience. We focus all on different types of CBT type of mental health practices that are drawn from CBT therapy, breathing techniques, tactical, a bunch of different types of breathing techniques. We focus on just general, healthy, good behaviors throughout life that keep us grounded, and many other topics that are covered in those first 2 sessions. Session 3 focuses on self-confidence and inner resilience, where we then take it to the next level and we recognize there's something to value in having your own inner self-confidence, that you're not shaken just because somebody argues with you or says something mean to you, and understanding the difference between what might be called haughtiness versus self-confidence. There's a very clear and easy way to explain that, and we do exercises surrounding that. And to start building that inner resilience, we talk about gratitude. Gratitude is a tremendously powerful way. Gavriel talks about it all the time in terms of building a person's resilience, recognizing all the wonderful things we have in our lives. One of the techniques that we like to do in the group is we put a little black dot in the middle of a large white board, and we ask the students what they see. I see a little black dot, a little black circle. One person raises their hand and says, oh, it's not a perfect black dot. And then we say, but then there's all the white around the dot. And that white can often be missed, but it's always there in our lives, and we can always think, 1 second, I'm going through something difficult, something harsh was just said to me, I'm experiencing a difficult situation, but there's so much good that I have in my life at the same time if I only would choose to try to focus on it. And it starts to build a lot of that inner resilience. Session 4 focuses on relationships and communication. We talk about how to build relationships in a healthy way, recognizing the right boundaries within those relationships, and communication skills. So communication skills, We want to understand how we're presenting ourselves, not just with the words that we speak, but with our facial expressions and our body motions, which communicate tremendously, in many cases much more than just the words. One of the skills we like to give over, or the experiences we give the kids, is we distribute pieces of paper and have the audience write down the shape that's being described by a volunteer. So a volunteer is looking at a shape, nobody else can see it, it's a complex shape, and they're describing it to everyone in the audience. Please write down, okay? They're not allowed to use their hands, they're not allowed to move their bodies, they can't draw anything, they can only use their words, and it's nearly impossible to get it right. The idea being that there's many forms of communication in our lives, and it's these experiences within the group sessions and the curriculum that are memorable that the students walk away with remembering. In session 5, we get directly into handling bullying and anti-Semitism. One of the things that we focus in on a lot in bullying is the bystander power, the bystander effect. That we want the kids to understand that the greatest prevention strategy in any group or social setting to combat bullying is the bystanders do not remain passive. They actively get involved. We have the acronym STACK, where we talk about steal the show, turn it over, accompany others, and coach compassion. It's a well-known acronym for 4 key ingredients to empowering bystanders to be the ones to combat the bullying, which often is the greatest thing for the bully to experience himself or herself as well. And then, of course, we talk about how to help yourself if you've been the victim of bullying and anti-Semitism as well. In sessions 6 and 7, we get into a lot of what Gina was talking about, where if we try to build all that resilience, and hopefully it gave them that Teflon coating to protect themselves from being harmed and traumatized, but many times it won't, or it won't fully. And so in sessions 6 and 7, we get all into the emotion aid and the somatic experiencing techniques that, the facilitators will be trained in to be able to give that over to the students so that they can recover if they do become traumatized to some extent by the things going on in their surroundings. Session 8 is a final component in the curriculum where we actually have them reflect on their Jewish identity and their understanding of their connection to Israel and the wealth of resources that surround them, and we try to wrap it all up within the context. But just to be clear, the core of the curriculum, the first 7 sessions, have nothing to do with Judaism per se. It has to do with building a human being's resilience to be able to withstand difficult experiences. It's in that session 8 that we come and we wrap it up in that connection to the land of Israel and to Judaism as well.
This program showcases people, organizations, and opportunities for making a difference. Tune in next week for another freshly baked edition of the Gavriel Sanders Show. You can reach Gavriel at gavrielradio@gmail.com. That's GAVRIEL radio@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.